Welcome to Encounter Wargaming, I'm Jay, and today we're going to be taking a little look at a blast from the past, the original Necromunda Rulebook. I haven't been keeping up as frequently with my Relics of the Dark Age videos as I intended originally when coming out with this series. But I thought with the imminent release of Necromunda at the end of the month, it would be great to go over my old Necromunda collection and all of the Rulebook, Sourcebook, etc., etc. Over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be showing you guys the original set of Necromunda rules, at least the books, and flipping through them for you, showing you all the pictures and the cool John Blanche artwork and all that stuff. So, like I say, I started playing in this era of 40k. I didn't play Necromunda in this edition. I didn't pick it up until the next edition when they came out with it, like more in 3rd and 4th edition 40k. But this edition of Necromunda really mimics 2nd edition 40k. And we're being told that the new edition of Necromunda is really going to mimic 8th edition 40k. So we've got a whole new system now. Of course, they recently did a reincarnation of Necromunda in the form of Shadow War Armageddon, which a lot of people liked, a lot of people were upset about. I know at least in my gaming club, a lot of the guys were more into Mordheim because there was other races than just humans, whereas Necromunda, it's like really everybody's using the same stuff. Like, yes, there are mutants and there's zombies and what have you, and we will be looking through these books and you'll see that there is things like Gene Stealer cults and stuff like that, but for the most part you're basically just humans versus humans. And I think Games Workshop released Shadow War Armageddon to bring back the original Necromunda rule set. This is just my opinion, by the way. Bring back the original Necromunda rule set, but make all the current races that are in the 40k fluff available to the players so that they can either use their existing collections to play this new form of 40k, which I suppose basically replaced Kill Team, and play with a very old rule set, which works very well in a skirmish level game. 40k in 2nd edition was very clunky when it came to, like, when you had, 100 plus figures on the table. But a 2,000 point game then was like what an 800 or a 1,000 point game would be now, maybe even a 1,200 point game, like as far as the number of miniatures that you needed. So this rule set really worked very well when you only had 10 or 20 models on the field. So I think that's was their intentions with the Shadow War. And of course people complained about that, because no matter what you do, people are going to complain about it. The community is going to freak out for some reason, nerd rage and such. So I guess they're re-releasing Necromunda, and it's going to take on the new incarnation of 40k, which is interesting. The reason I love looking at these books is because they bring me back to when I started playing Warhammer 40k and the beautiful quirkiness of 2nd edition. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the original Necromunda rulebook. So here it is, the original Necromunda rulebook. This is a blast from the past. Now, I personally started playing 40k in Warhammer 40k 2nd edition, so this to me is like my childhood right here. And I've had these books for a few years, but I really wanted to show them to you guys, especially because the new Necromunda is coming out imminently. So let's check it out. I don't really know how the new one's going to work, but I want to show you guys the old one, because this is literally my childhood. Awesome. So first off, like I always say, the most important page. We've got the credits, Rick Priestley. Funny, if you guys check back on my other videos, I was laughing at the Richard Priestley. Rick Priestley is what I'm used to seeing his name as. This man literally invented Warhammer. I praise this guy. I would love to meet him sometime. So, I always look at the copyright date whenever I pick up a relic like this, 1995. That is the prime of Warhammer 40,000 from when I was a kid. Like 95. This is when it really started to happen. So this is sort of late 2nd edition, the bridge into 3rd edition. Some of the rules in this book basically work pretty much the same way as 40k 2nd edition did, with a few changes, of course. There was, of course, a whole campaign system and all that, but this is the rulebook. So we've just, as I've been ranting, you guys have seen the table of contents. Look through here. This is the basics of the game. So the box gives you the old plastic Orlok gang and the Goliaths. Take a good look at those guys, because we're going to be getting new Escher and new Goliaths, I believe, in the new box. So it tells you right here what the box contains. Of course, we've got the old school templates. I remember back in the day they actually used to have paper templates. I think I still have these templates somewhere. In fact, I have a lot of these tokens still to this day. This loot counter I still use in my games sometimes. It was the same one that they used for Gorka Morka, I believe, too. Printed the same things. And it used to come with this badass cardboard terrain. They haven't done that in a while. Nowadays, the games are all coming with plastic terrain, like Shadow War Armageddon came with plastic terrain, which is wicked cool. But back in the day, they used to give you like these plastic bulkheads, and then you would just clip in the cardboard terrain. So cool. I remember the 40,000 second edition came with cardboard ruins, which were really cool. We used to, a couple of us had the sets, so we had a whole bunch of them to use in our games back then. Now this is something that I found that really gives me a blast from my childhood, because we've got here the sustained fire dice, which they took out of the game a long time ago. The artillery dice that you see here, obviously this is the scatter that we're used to seeing in Warhammer and in Warhammer 40,000. Now those things, all three, I think, have actually been taken out of the game, now that I think about it, in both Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000. But Horus Heresy still uses the scatter dice. The sustained fire dice, the artillery dice stayed in Warhammer Fantasy right up until 8th edition, I believe. The sustained fire dice are the ones that they took out. That was the fun one. There was like a jam thing where, like, you know, assault cannons and heavy bolters and things like that in Warhammer 40,000 would get so many shots based on the number of dice. So there was like, I think 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 3, and then the other side was a misfire. So you basically had like a 1 in 6 chance of misfiring. So there you go, some classic 40k artwork. Love it. I love these old drawings. Oh, it brings me back, man. All the artwork used to be like this. So here we go. We've got the characteristics. The original 10 characteristic line. Of course, armor save is not included in that. We've got movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, wounds, initiative, attacks, and leadership. This is pretty much the characteristics that we always had, guys. Until about 3rd edition. They dropped the movement and added the save characteristic to 40k. The 2nd edition system of 40k really seemed to work well with small skirmish bands and stuff, which made it great for games like this. They say the new Necromunda will mimic 8th edition 40k, whereas this mimics 2nd edition 40k, and I think they kept the characteristics the same into the next edition of Necromunda. Now they're going to mimic, because Shadow War basically is this rule set with a few changes. Of course, actually it's probably more likely the next Necromunda rule set, the next edition after this, sort of held together with the extra races added. So we've got the old turn phases here, movement, shooting, hand-to-hand, and recovery. Much like it was in Gorka Morka. I might show you guys the Gorka Morka books in a later video as well, but for right now I'm going to show you guys all these Necromunda books. Wicked. So, fire arcs, something that don't currently exist in 40k anymore. Even in 40k at this time, each model had a 90-degree fire arc just like this, so this model wouldn't be able to be in line of sight, whereas that model would. There you go, some terrain, basics of Wargaming. Ranges of basic weapons, to hit modifiers. There you go, your d6 score you needed based on your ballistic skill. Now, they actually used to give you a chart like this. I remember in 2nd edition they gave you a chart like this. And then in like 4th and 5th in the rulebook they were just like, yeah, just subtract it from 7. It basically works out to the same thing. So, you know, there's not really need for a chart where you can just tell people to subtract it from 7. Now, ballistic skill, they actually show you the number you need to hit, which is even more dumbed down. Like, really, if you can't subtract from 7, then, I mean, I don't think you should really be playing these games. But, it is what it is. Pinned. Awesome. Still existed. The Twoon chart, the old, beautiful Twoon chart that has always existed throughout Warhammer and Warhammer 40k until the current incarnations of both. We've seen a big change with Age of Sigmar and 8th edition 40k in the basic mechanics of how our game works. I mean, this basic rule set created by Rick Priestley and those other and Jervis Johnson and guys like that. I guess Andy Chambers and guys like that really led the charge when it came to 3rd edition and stuff like that. These guys created this gaming system, and this is the basic gaming system that existed through Warhammer, through Warhammer 40,000, through Necromunda, Gorka Morka, and all the other Mordheim and all the other spin-off games that they did back in the day. Like I say, I praise Rick Priestley for the for what he did for the wargaming community. by creating all these gaming systems based around the same sort of system. So there we go, basically explaining it all. There's our scatter die and artillery die. Showing templates, the way templates used to scatter, flamer templates, who's partial, who's full. Sustained fire, sustained shooting, there you go with the number of shots, ammo jams. If you roll a jam symbol, then no hit rolls are caused, something has gone wrong, and you make an ammo roll. There you go. In the next edition they changed it to a D6 system, the next edition of Necromunda, so you didn't use the sustained fire anymore. And it was just like certain weapons like bolt guns and stuff would jam on a 6, and you had to make an ammo roll. So we'll see if they carry those mechanics into the new edition of Necromunda. Overwatch. Remember back then, in 2nd edition at least, you had to sacrifice your turn the turn before in order to go into Overwatch, which allowed you to fire in the enemy turn. Any model may go on to Overwatch at the start of its turn. A fighter is down or pinned, cannot do this. Well, place an Overwatch counter, blah blah blah. Model cannot therefore move or shoot in their turn, obviously, and cannot hide, but may remain hidden at the start of, if they started hiding. During the enemy turn, the model may shoot at any target that presents itself at any time. For example, the model could shoot before a target moves, after a target completes its move, or while the target's still moving. That's interesting. Overwatch is obviously very useful for shooting at enemy models, blah blah blah. Once it's fired, its Overwatch, remove its counter, and the model is no longer on Overwatch. Boom. So there you go. You sacrifice your turn in order to shoot in the enemy turn, rather than the way Overwatch works today. Hand-to-hand combat. Wow. I remember this being much more complicated in 40k even back then than it is today. They've dumbed it down a couple of times. Sorry, I should say streamlined. I shouldn't say dumbed it down, because I really like the way 40k plays now. But I hope that when they come out with the new edition of Necromunda, they hold the good things about 8th edition and the good things about this edition. Because like I say, it still works for a skirmish level game. It's okay to do a little bit of extra math when you only have 6 models on the table or 20 models on the table instead of 200. Leadership tests, broken tests, bottle tests, there you go. I was about to ask if this even existed back then. I didn't play Necromunda in this edition. I played Necromunda in the next edition after this, and only for a brief time, but I did play 2nd edition 40k quite regularly. Alright, so we've got the 3D rules. I hear that the new edition they're going to release the 3-dimensional way of playing Necromunda in a different supplement, which is interesting. In my opinion, the whole point of this game is that it's 3D, but here you go, falling, jumping, stray shots flying off in weird directions, fear tests, terror tests, again, all the core rules from, like, this is Warhammer, guys, this is where it comes from. Weapons tables, much like existed in 2nd edition 40k. All the different characteristics for weapons. Now it's just strength, range, and AP, basically. Short ranges, long ranges. See? Very much similar to the way Infinity works now, I guess. I mean, more or less Infinity is a scrambled version of Necromunda, I guess. Short ranges, long ranges, you get bonuses for short range as opposed to long range. Some weapons, I assume, like sniper rifles and things like that, would get a benefit for the long range rather than the short range. And of course, you get your strength, your damage, your save modifiers, much like it would do now. And the ammo roll, I suppose, if you fail your, or you jam with your sustained fire dice, you have to roll a 6 to be able to continue to fire. Hand-to-hand combat. We've got various weapons, chainswords, clubs, axes, mauls, flails, swords, and they actually differentiate quite a bit between these things. See, like a chain or a flail is user +1, whereas a sword or a knife is just the strength of the user. So there you go. Except knives allow you to parry, and you may not parry with a chain. It might fumble if you... Fumbles count double. Huh, that's interesting. I'll have to research that a bit more. Power Maul. If you attack an opponent that's out of action, they automatically suffer a serious injury. That's interesting. Basically, the guy's passed out and you crush his skull. Bomb. Your standard weapons you're used to seeing in 40k. Auto pistols, bolt pistols, hand flamers. Surprisingly do still exist. Needle pistols, I am not sure are still in 40k. Maybe the Dark Eldar still have them. I haven't seen many on in human hands these days, but hand flamers are still around, I guess. With the Adeptus Sororitas. And maybe the Death Watch and the Blood Angels and stuff still have access to hand flamers too. I'm not really sure. Correct me on that if I'm wrong, guys. Web pistol. That's interesting. I think they brought back Webbers with the Genestealer cults, but for a long time there was no web pistols in 40k. Or Webbers, for that matter. Autogun, bolt gun, lasgun, shotgun, flamer. Grenade launchers, meltaguns, plasma guns. There you go, needle rifle. Again, possibly only Eldar technology. I don't think humans have access to those anymore. Heavy stub gun, that would be equivalent of a heavy stubber. Heavy bolter, plasma gun, heavy plasma gun, that would be a plasma cannon. Las cannon, missile launcher. Again, with the sweet old school artwork. Bomb. Yeah, and grenades, how they had to scatter and all kinds of stuff. Crazy. Gas grenades, frag grenades, crack grenades, melta-bombs, plasma grenades, photon flash grenades. I remember those from Second Ed. Wow. Carapace armor, mesh armor. Now again, I think Eldar have mesh armor, whereas humans generally wear flak or carapace. But mesh armor and flak are the same now. 5-up save, right? Oh, they are then too. That's interesting that they even put mesh armor in here. Because even in 40k at this time, the Guardians had mesh armor, Eldar Guardians have mesh armor, whereas Imperial Guardsmen have flak armor. Bonuses for your weapons: infrared sights, telescopic sights, bionic eye, bionic leg. Sweet. All the implants you can add to your dudes as they progress. Got sweet little equipment here. Grapnel, grav shoot, bioscanners. Awesome. Infra goggles. So cool. Look at this guy just firing a freaking las cannon. A human firing a las cannon from the shoulder. That's one badass dude, man. Ratskins. Ratskin map. Respirators. Weapon reloads. Cool. And then all the summaries now. Even in 3rd and 4th edition, you had like a 3 or 4 pages of summary, right? Look, here you go. Different hive layouts for the cardboard terrain that came in the set. Awesome. And I love how they used to do this in the old books. Oh man, they don't do this anymore, but they released their catalog pages in the back of the book so you can actually look at all the miniatures. Like real pictures of the miniatures, not painted, not photoshopped, straight up. This is our catalog. These are our pewter miniatures. And how little they actually had sculpted and ready to go when this first came out. They came out with quite a few Vansar models after this. Right now they're only showing 3. A few Ratskins. I guess there was Ratskin rules right from the get-go. It's really got Underhive Scum here. I believe I actually have this model, and I thought he was a Delac model. Well, I guess not. I had a Delac gang back in the day, by the way. So there you go. They've obviously expanded the Cawdor most, because the plastic ones came in the set. Oh, sorry, nope, it was Orlocks and Goliaths. My mistake. There's the Orlocks. A catalog of figures. Same with the Delac gang. Even got Orlock Jews. Orlock's the most expanded in this. Look at these old figures, though, guys. Aren't they so cool? I still, to this day, have a bunch of these Delac models. Awesome. Some of them have made their way into my Renegades and Heretics armies and various other conversions over time. Here's the old Escher models. so hopefully we'll be getting some new plastics of them. Make sure you guys get a good view of this page, because these are the old Goliaths as well. So this is what we're getting in our new Necromunda starter set, is new plastic versions of these. These are the old pewter versions, guys. Wow. Blast from the past. Bunch of Arnie looking Goliath dudes. The old Eshromals are still sweet, man. I have this one right here, actually, in my Nurgle Renegades and Heretics army, as well as this one here. They probably came in the same blister, I'll bet. Awesome. There you go, some nerds playing. The old colored pages. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit, actually, because look at the paint jobs. Everything back then was so brightly colored. Everyone did the green, the goblin green base with the green flock on it. Man, how things have changed, eh? But that's Necromunda. That's it, guys. There's a good shot of that one too. Look at those Goliaths and the Orlocks. Awesome. Bring it back out. You guys take a look at these figures too. I love the comic book style of the 90s stuff and the 80s stuff. It brings back so many memories every time I see it, and it makes me feel like a kid again. So I just had to share that with you guys, and hopefully bring you back to your childhood if you are not a veteran gamer of that time period. I thought it would be really cool if you guys could check out the original Necromunda and what it looked like. So I hope you all enjoyed that video, a good look at the original Necromunda book. Next week I'm going to be showing you guys the source book that goes along with this in the starter set. So I hope you enjoyed that. I always love the Blast from the Past, and like I say, I can't wait to take a look at the new edition when it comes out, the new edition of Necromunda. We'll see what they're going to do there. See how much of the original game they're going to keep, how much of the new edition is going to be played into it, because we're basically going to have a small-scale campaign system that could be used in 40k, which is wicked awesome, which I guess what Shadow War really is. But I can't wait to see the new Necromunda. So in anticipation of that, let's check out all the old stuff. So join me next week when I'll go over the source book as well. The following weeks I'll expand into the expansions for you guys. So if you like what we do, if you like Encounter Wargaming, please hit subscribe. Hit that little bell notification right next to the subscribe, because that not only helps us out, but it lets you know when our videos are released, which is basically every Tuesday and Thursday. And if you really like our normal Tuesday, Thursday feed, go down and check out our Patreon link in the description below. Basically for $1 a video, or even less if you want to give that, for these Tuesday and Thursday releases, you get a whole bunch of other videos for free. Especially when we do series, when we do campaign series or terrain series, we usually release one of the videos in that series for patrons only. As well, we do, behind the scenes, we show you our studios, what we're working on, what models we're working on, terrain projects or whatever, so you get an idea of what we're doing before it even comes out. Oh, plus, you get our normal Tuesdays and Thursday video releases early on the Sunday before. So, check it out. Otherwise, hit subscribe, and we'll see you at our next encounter.
Like a monkey.